Hey folks, realized after shooting this that this story got way ahead of me, and in the interest of perhaps, I don't know, making it a little bit easier, I'm splitting this video into a few parts. I think it looks like 3 parts, kind of going over the weekend episodically. This is the first part. Stick around if you want, and I'm going to have 2 more parts coming up, and we'll go from there. Today it's the 10th of October, 2020, the trash year, and I want to take an opportunity to go over what happened to us at Show Me Rally 2020, which was the last weekend, and I did like a quick write up. I called it the long story short on our Facebook page. Even though by most people's standards it was still decently verbose, I just happen to say a lot when I get really going. And so rather than type it all out again in an uncut fashion, I decided it was going to be, it would be fun to do a video on it and speak on it rather than just type on it. And so, yeah, Show Me Rally this year was... it was sort of a replacement for 100 Acre Wood for some folks. For some of us, it was just like an extra Show Me, right? It was Show Me Plus, so to speak. Show Me Rally is usually one day. It's a Tulips rally. It's in Potosi, Missouri. It was the first rally we ever did. As time goes on, I think it's really becoming a very close second favorite of mine to 100 Acre Wood. I really like doing the Show Me Rally. And last year, our Show Me Rally performance was very good, given our history. The fastest we've ever gone on stage was last year at Show Me Rally. We were really putting the pedal down, and we were really eager to get back out there and do it again and try to just one-up ourselves and see if that could help us climb the ranks. But 100 Acre Wood was canceled this year, and so with 100 Acre Wood canceled, the organizers saw fit to try to introduce some 100 Acre Wood elements into Show Me to kind of blend them together. One of those elements was making it a proper national rally, and so that meant that the big teams could come through and get points towards the national championship that way. And so Travis Pastrana, one of the Subaru drivers, as well as Brandon Simonek, the other Subaru driver, Barry McKenna. The big teams, the fast teams you usually see at 100 Acre Wood, also came down to Show Me Rally. It was a 2-day rally this year. Despite still being 10 stages, I feel like we've done a Show Me Rally that was 10 stages, or very close to it. I know we've done one that was 9. I think the first one we did was 9 scheduled stages. And so they split it up, and for the first time they gave us an opportunity to go out and do reconnaissance on the roads. Usually with Show Me Rally, they give you a book that you're not allowed to edit beforehand or go out and do recon on the roads. It's very, very minimal stage notes. Usually you get the cautions, the very tight turns, and some notes on some intersections you pass. And that's about it. It's not uncommon for Jim to go, a minute without saying something during a traditional Show Me Rally. You're just driving by the seat of your pants and trying to follow the road, which is a skill set we were learning at the last Show Me Rally, and I was hoping to kind of improve on it this year. But of course, this year they did something we've never done, which was they didn't give us any notes. And so we knew we had to go into this with a notebook and just trying to write our own notes. But we'll talk more on that later. But we knew that this year Show Me was going to be radically different. And so we kind of had the car starting to get prepped for 100 Acre Wood, which was canceled like the week of, I feel like. I think it was the Monday of the week we were supposed to go down. And so the car had some work done to it in preparation for that. We had to swap out a rear door that got banged up at last year's Show Me Rally. We went through and completely redid the livery on the car. 2018 livery and 2019 livery were both done with black Plastidip, which everyone wants to hate on the Plastidip. I get it. I had wanted to Plastidip a car for years, and I saw that this would be a great opportunity. I had the original livery design kind of on an MS Paint drawing, and it was done with the red, orange, and yellow stripes on a black car. In our first race, I didn't get the black done, but I got the red, orange, and yellow stripes on. So when the car was freshly Plastidiped, it looked sharp. It's not a gloss. It's like a matte. You might get a semi-matte out of it if you put some of the glossifier in there that they offer. I was just going to Home Depots and hardware stores and just grabbing all of the like 12-ounce cans or what have you of Plastidip, throwing them all into a 5-gallon bucket, putting an equal amount of xylene in, mixing it together, and shooting it through a gun. It looked good whenever it was fresh. The problem was keeping it fresh. I think the Plastidip technique is something that I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's bad. And I think if you do it right on the right car, it can work really well. Not a great idea for a rally car. It was impossible to clean. We got the car super dirty. It's a rally car that sees time on gravel roads. It's gonna get dirty, and so it became a matter of Plastidiping it 2 or 3 times a year. Combine that with the fact that the car sits outside because the garage looks like this, and the sun being down on it, the Plastidip would fade and break apart, right? And so when it came time to peel the Plastidip, it didn't come off like you see in all the videos, right? Because it had just broken down. And so it would come apart in pieces. And then you had to use chemicals. We would use gasoline or WD-40 and just let it soak and then just hit it with a power washer. We didn't want to do that anymore. So we decided to try a new skill set, which was vinyl wrapping. And it's about a 40-footer. It's not the best vinyl job ever, but just like any skill, that's the first thing I ever vinyl wrapped was that car, and so I imagine if I spent more time practicing it could get better, but also I don't really care that much. It's a gloss black now, with the gloss color stripes. It all looks a lot better. The black is a proper black. The car pops more. It should wash better because the vinyl, the dirt should ideally roll off of it once we get it wet, as opposed to the Plastidip where the dirt would embed in the rougher surface. Looks a lot better. I realized in watching old race footage in preparation for Show Me Rally that the reason I'm always driving so slow in all of our videos was a number of things. But when I watch our videos, I'll look and I'm like, why can't I see that the road? Like, I can see in the video the curvature of the road coming up. I don't need Jim to call me these things. I can see it, right? And that's not anything to do with Jim. He doesn't have the notes to give me because it's Tulips Rally. And so I was like wondering why I can't, why my approach to the road is so much different when watching footage compared to sitting in the car. And it dawned on me that my GoPro is sitting higher than my head was. And so naturally, watching the videos, I can see things that I can't see in the car because I'm sitting way lower. And when we first built the car, we were so hung up on dumb garbage that doesn't matter. I was like, yeah, no, we got to sit low. We need to improve our CG. I'm going to sit forward because, I am a shorter guy. I need to be able to reach the pedals. But we want the CG low because that's going to matter for us. We're going to be going so fast that the CG is going to make or break us. And spoiler alert, we're not that fast. It doesn't matter that much to have that kind of low CG. Jim already sits pretty low. That's, he can counteract how high I need to sit. And so we went through and I decided it was time to, take another look at my seat. We lifted the seat up by an inch And in doing so, we realized that I've been sitting to the left this whole time by an inch. So I just really spent time dialing in my seating position and making sure it felt good. And that was making a world of difference. You know, I could actually see the hood of the car while I'm sitting in the seat. Like things that you think that we would have been super easy to understand were just flying right over my head when we first built this car. And you know, hindsight's 2020. A bunch of people probably told me to do it differently, and I didn't want to listen. Um, you know, whatever, right? Obviously, frankly, there's stuff I watch in the old Ty's Garage videos where I'm like, what are you saying? It's dumb nonsense, the stuff I was saying. But that's how you learn, I suppose. We wanted to stiffen up the front end a little bit. We knew that we were going to be going up against the Caligar jump twice in one night, one of which being at night. And so we put some time bracing the front end of the car. We put the 1/8-inch thick blast plates on that everyone puts on the cars, just welding the strut towers together up front. They're, by design, two separate pieces of metal that are spot welded. The shock tower of the front end of the car is almost U-shaped, and then the plate that the top hat of the shock mounts to is spot welded to that. And so the fear is that a good impact on the front end will be so strong that it breaks those spot welds, and then the whole thing goes through the hood. It happens. I don't know if it was going to happen to us, but now I know it won't. And so we did that, and then our crew chief, one of our top, one of our mechanics that has been with us since day one, Pete, he came over and we designed a quick and easy front strut tower brace. We could have just gone online and bought one, but there's something fun to me about making stuff, even if it's just like dumb little stuff like that, right? It's beefier than almost anything I think we would have found online. It's like 1-inch thick steel square stock tubing, mandrel bent, welded to the rings that go on top of the shocks. It's really well built, and I think it's really going to help in the future. But we wanted to see if that would help our handling at all. Other than that, we didn't really do a lot to the car. Oh, I'm a dummy. We upgraded the brakes. The front brakes, the car started as, it was a 1.8 liter 95 Impreza. And those cars had 1-pot front disc brakes and drum brakes in the rear. And so when we were building the car at first, I was like, Misha, I want to go rear disc brakes, right? I want disc brakes all around. And I still stand by that decision. I think it was a decent decision. So, Misha at Ecotech gets us some Bug-Eye WRX rear knuckles and trailing arms. So we bolt those up way back in October 2017, right before Show Me Rally. And so from then on, we had a proportioning valve, which didn't work the way we thought it would. Again, hindsight 2020. And we had 1-pot brakes front and rear. And so I don't know how much of an issue this was. The biggest fear was that I had too much rear braking. At this juncture, I couldn't tell you what that would do. But we were worried the Willwood proportioning valve didn't take it down far enough, and the brakes in the rear were too strong. So I used cheap garbage pads and cheap garbage rotors in the rear, and spent money on front brakes to try to introduce more balance. And so, right before 100 Acre Wood, 2018, we bolted on some 2-pot front calipers, thinking that they would work with our 15-inch wheels, and they didn't, because they were from a WRX, which requires 16-inch wheels. And so, this summer, we decided we're going to go to 2-pot front brakes from an RS, right? So you have 2-pot fronts, 1-pot rears. You have a naturally good balance there, and you can just dial it in with the proportioning valve. And we put hawk pads all the way around which was it was a new experience having that much braking power, and so you don't want to change too much stuff going into a race. There's, when we were doing science projects in school, they had us change one variable and see how it played out. But we don't have, we don't have access to practice facilities to go out and test and tune these things all the time. We have rallycross, kind of. I don't know if we're even allowed to do that right now because of the pandemic. I haven't really been following. But even then, it's not necessarily an apples for apples comparison. But that's, I think, about the most we did to the car was brakes, some front end suspension stuff, and changing my seat to where I can actually see where I'm going. Also, every race I'm doing some weight reduction stuff, just going through the car, trying to find little bits I can just mix and just put into a bucket and weigh to see how much we can take off the car. So with that done, let's talk about what happened once we left town here in Florissant to go to the Show Me Rally. All right, so the typical loadout situation when we're going to a rally, of course we take the rally car. We still have a truck and trailer. I drive the rally car down. I need to drive it back once we're done. That's kind of always going on in our minds. The rally car needs to survive so that I can drive it back. And so, depending on the race decides which secondary vehicle we take. We bounce back and forth between Jim's Explorer, which has a lot more room. It belongs to Jim, so we can pack up his stuff at his house and make it a little bit easier. And like I said, it has more room, so that's a lot better. Or we'll use my 04 Impreza wagon, right? And so because this was a Recce rally, we wanted to take my Impreza because even though it's 10 years newer than the rally car, it's similar height, similar viewpoint. We realized we Recce'd both the Explorer and the Impreza, and we found that while the Explorer can get over more of the rigorous stuff we find on Recce Day, the Impreza gives me a better idea of what I can expect to see when driving it. And so I think that's kind of an important perspective to have. If I could, I'd have an identically built 95 Impreza wagon to take out on Recce Day. That way we know, it's going to look exactly the same. It's going to handle exactly the same. We'll know whether or not we can get through the ruts, right? But beggars, can't be choosers. We'll get there. But this time we took my 04 Impreza wagon. We wanted to try to have the the rally car as ready to go for service as possible. Usually when we do this, I have the rally car full of garbage that we have to unload out of the car when we get to scrutineering, and get it through scrutineering, then load it back up and go to the hotel. And this time we weren't staying in Potosi because it had filled up before the rally even opened up for entry, and then half the teams that were booked at Potosi didn't get in immediately, so they bailed on the race, and then spots opened for them, but they were gone, and now new people were coming in off the wait list. It was a huge cluster. And so we decided, let's try staying at Huzzah Valley Resort. We've done service there before at Huntington Wood a couple times. There's a super special that has been run there a couple times. And honestly, it seemed like a really nice place. And it was right next to Steelville, which was the headquarters for day one. And so we thought, yeah, we'll be right there. We can just hop right in. And we have to drive a long distance to get to kick off. And when we're done with the day, we'll be ready to go right back home to sleep. Now we have more time in the morning. And so the movement plan for this race was really involved because we had 2 days to do Recce. Originally it was 1 day from 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon to do 2 passes of Recce. And I think it could have been done. But a lot of folks were upset about it. Because they're like, why is the Recce starting before the sun is up? And I was like, that's a fair point, I guess. Nobody wants to. The frustration with that wasn't that some of the stages were going to be dark, because some of the stages would be dark when we were running them. The frustration with that was, you want me to be up and on stage at 6 in the morning, and then go until 2 p.m., run back to the hotel, get dressed, get the car, go over to Steelville City Park and start racing at 4, and then race until like 8:30 or 9 at night. It just seemed like something was going to require a lot of energy out of me. And so they split it into 2 days. Our plan was to get a good amount done the first day, get the rest done the second day. And we decided on doing all of the Friday stages twice each on Thursday, giving us a night to think about it, look over the notes. And then Friday, the same day as the first day of racing, we would go over Saturday stages to do the same. We have a whole night to look over and think about and adjust, and Jim can make his pencil notes permanent, marker notes. And that was the plan. And I thought it was a pretty good plan. But it could have been done any number of ways. The way they give you some recommended recce routes, but you're not required to take any of them or do any of it any kind of way. And that freedom was both liberating and intimidating at the same time. And so, with that in mind, it was a matter of, we need to get there early so we can get in line to sign in as soon as possible, and we can get out on stage as soon as possible. We can get out to Huzzah, drop off the car, check into the hotel, get back in the Recce car, and go out and be ready to go at 1 when Recce started. That was the plan. And we went out, we Recce'd, just like we planned, and everything was going pretty fine. And so that morning we left here, I started the car. I started the car when I left. I took it to Ecotech. We had to go to Ecotech to see if they would re-bead a tire for us, which wasn't sealing around the rim itself. And so Jim and I met up at Ecotech. He had the tires. I just met up with him there so we could drive down to Potosi in tandem. And they got us helped out, as they always do. And we went to go leave Ecotech way ahead of schedule to go down to Potosi. And I get in the rally car isn't starting. Rally cars had starter problems ever since we put this transmission in. We're not entirely sure that it is related to the transmission. We're still not sure why it happens, but it does happen. We have like 5 starters we've gone through and trying to nail it down. One of which has been brand new, 2 of which were used pull-offs, but genuine Subaru starters, 2 of which were just the wrong starters for the transmission. We don't know what the problem is, but Jim's messing around with wires up front. I'm trying to start the car. Eventually, it just goes. All week, I had been hitting it with a hammer, and it would start up. People say you can smack a solenoid with a hammer or a stick, some kind of blunt object, and that frees it up, and it goes. And that was working for me all week. This time, it wasn't working. Jim got it to go somehow. We're not entirely sure what happened. At that point, I'm like, the car is staying on as long as it can. So we drove down to Potosi. We stood in line to check in, which had to be done in our cars because of the pandemic, right? And so the car just sitting there for like 45 minutes and running, and we drop it off at the hotel, turn it off, turn it back on, it's good. We go through, we do Recce, we come back, we grab the rally car to take it back up to Potosi to get it through scrutineering, right? And starts right up, so I'm feeling really good about the starter. Maybe Jim fixed something that I had overlooked, and everything was better now, right? And we get to scrutineering, and man, we must have been like 30th or 40th in line, and it was moving super slow. It was moving so slow that I basically said, let's form a second line that will just, pick up after the first line. That way, the car is right. Our car was right up next to scrutineering, and it wouldn't be that difficult to, we wouldn't have to go that far. I guess was my thought. I'm just afraid of the car not starting back up, right? And so all night the car had been starting just fine. We go through scrutineering and fail for a lot of stuff. First time we've ever failed. Some of the stuff was pretty valid. I think some of the stuff was kind of garbage, but it doesn't really matter to me that much anymore. We ran into town, hit up the AutoZone, got stuff that we needed to fix it, and we were able to get it re-inspected that night, and we passed. And so the important thing is we were able to go to bed that night, not having to wake up in the morning to go get that taken care of. We could just go wake up and go do more Recce. That's what we wanted. And so when we went to leave tech the first time, the car wouldn't start. Had to pop start it. And so we get the car started back up and didn't shut it off in scrutineering at all because of that problem. We went and got through scrutineering, passed the second time, drove back to the hotel in Huzzah, and car isn't starting again. And at this point, it's like 11 or 11:30 at night, and I'm just trying to understand why this is happening. And honestly, we could have just push started it, pop started it, whatever you call it, all day. Nothing is against the rules about that. It only would have been a problem if I stalled it on stage and we couldn't get it to start. That's what would have sucked about it. But other than that, it just would have been embarrassing. Not nearly as embarrassing as what came next, but we're getting there.
That about wraps up part one. Again, I guess in the beginning of the video, I'm splitting these up, so I'm going to try to have this queued up to where you'll be able to go right into the next part if you want. And we'll talk about when the weekend really started to fall apart.